For week 2, we're going to have 2 discussions. The first one is going to be about technology. And so it will ask you to introduce a technology. And you have here all the instructions for your initial message. You're basically going to go out there, explore one technology that you could potentially use for your project. The first section of the prompt talks about some of the considerations you may want to have in selecting a particular tool so that it's easier for you to manage throughout the semester. You're going to end up with a tool that you'll be able to use. Then the second piece is all the kinds of things I want you to discuss regarding that tool. One of the things I'm asking is that you enter or insert a screenshot of whatever you do in the tool. And so for that, I'm reminding you to go to the About You video for a refresher in case you need to upload pictures that will not cause horizontal scrolling. Remember that when you do a screenshot directly from the monitor, it'll be very large, and you don't want to upload pictures that will cause horizontal scrolling, because that is one of the no-nos for designing content for desktops. You want to keep it so that the only scrolling that needs to happen is vertical. Then for your response, you're going to find the prompts here. Basically, what I would like for you to do is choose one person to reply to and reply to them based on your experience. So have you have experience with the kinds of technology that this person talked about? Is there any other technology that you can recommend that is better than that one? Whatever. There's the prompts down here. So the next discussion is going to be about assessment, and what I want you to do is to practice creating the assessment for your own project. So I'm going to ask you to post an initial message with a 1-sentence summary of your project, just to remind everybody of what you're doing, and then to complete this table. And so for the table in the first column, you're going to list your objectives, your 5 objectives. You're going to list the type of assessment and then the type of questions. Use the language in the course readings to determine this. So what is it that, say, Horton describes as a type of assessment, and what are the types of questions in Horton? And this is only so we have a frame of reference in order to be able to provide suggestions to you. We use the same language that we're learning about, so that we all know whether it would be correct or incorrect for you to use that type of assessment for this objective, or that type of question for the objective. And then add a sample question. And this is just so that we can provide feedback to you. Now, this column here, you're not going to need for the upcoming assignment, for the e-learning proposal, but because it's going to be fresh in our minds, all the specifications for writing questions, I want you to start practicing now in the discussion how to write the particular type of question that you're recommending, and then we can provide you feedback. So, you know, we may say, hey, you said you had this objective, but then the type of objective you're saying it's objective. You really should use subjective. Or maybe the type of question you're suggesting is not really the best one according to Horton. Horton says that that type of question is better for something else, whatever, and you know, and so on. So the idea is that you lay it out for us so that we can provide feedback for you. And then on the responses, I am asking you to look at your peers, and it's only 2 of your peers. Look at what they wrote and look at the alignment between the learning objective and the type of questions they're suggesting. Look at how appropriate the suggested type of assessment is for each objective. Look at how appropriate it is to test the objective, and then look at how well the sample question is following the recommendations on the course readings. So provide feedback regarding these areas here. This is what it'll be most helpful for your classmates. And of course, you want to use the course readings to provide support to your recommendations, because you want to convince your classmates that they need to make those changes because they are not following the recommendations on the literature we're reading. So you want to make sure that you provide sound research or best practices based feedback. So this is one example of how you may complete the table. So my objective would be using an online CSS generator, the student will format all instances of the p tag with 75% accuracy. And then now this, I want the student to do something. I want the student to format text within p tags using an online CSS generator. So because I want them to do something, I don't want them to remember how to do something. I don't want them to analyze how to do something. I want them to do this. So the type of assessment for me is going to be subjective. It's not going to be an objective test where I let the students choose what would be the correct way of formatting a task. No, I want them to actually format a task. I want to see that the browser is capable of displaying that tag the way that it's supposed to be displayed. So to me, this is going to be a subjective type of assessment, and the type of question, according to Horton, is a performance question. And so in my case, what I'm going to say is, okay, now you're going to go and format all instances of the p tag so the text is Arial, 12 point, and bold. And then because I'm using a performance question, I'm going to need to use a rubric to evaluate their work. And this is going to be my performance descriptor for the excellent level of quality. So I'm going to see, well, you formatted 4 instances of the p tag successfully, and that is that the browser is displaying the paragraph according to the specifications you indicated. If it looks Arial 12 point bold, then you're fine. You've achieved the maximum, the highest level of achievement in this performance type of question. But this is basically just a sample example that you could use to help you complete the table for yourself. Remember my recommendation to subscribe to the forum, especially those forums where you receive feedback from your peers. You may want to subscribe to them so that you don't miss a thing. And then because I am going to be providing feedback after everybody's had the opportunity to provide their feedback, you don't want to miss that, because I may be pointing things out that will impact your grade. So if I notice that the way you're writing the objectives is not correct, if I've noticed that the way that you're writing your questions is not right, I'm going to provide suggestions, and you'll need to implement those suggestions for your e-learning project. So don't forget to subscribe to the thread where you are posting your initial message in the forum. The deadlines for the discussion this week for your initial message in each forum is going to be the 21st, Wednesday. And then the deadline for replies is going to be the 25th. So it is a Wednesday and then the Sunday. And all times are 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time.